Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. I'm at the NYIT Auditorium on Broadway for my Screen Actors Guild Foundation BroadwayWorld Conversation Q&A series, which celebrates the vibrant theater community here in New York City and the union actors who aspire to have a career on both stage and screen. My guest is one of this generation's most dynamic actresses working on stage, screen, and television. She is known to millions of fans worldwide for her award-winning portrayal of Peggy Olson on the groundbreaking television series Mad Men, which is finishing up its run on AMC. And now she is back on Broadway, electrifying audiences as Heidi Holland in Wendy Wasserstein's Pulitzer Prize-winning play, The Heidi Chronicles. Please welcome Elisabth Moss. You are giving one of the finest performances of the season.
Thank you. That's very nice.
What are you enjoying the most about playing Heidi in the Heidi Chronicles?
I suppose at this point in the process, I'm enjoying finding new things, which is such a strange thing after doing something for like 3 months. And all of a sudden, you know, you're looking at another actor on stage that maybe just in that moment you've never looked at them at that moment in the play before, and that makes you think something, and then that makes you do something different. And after 4 weeks of rehearsal, a week of tech, 3 weeks of previews, and then 60-something performances, it's so strange to find new things, So I suppose at this point that's what I'm enjoying, and the confidence that comes with having done a show a little bit and you feel like you know your lines, and so you can try other things, and you can let it go a little bit. That's what's been fun lately.
I'm sure just finding the pace, because you go to rehearsal, you go to tech, you preview, you do press events, you open. There's so much other things you have to do besides just doing the show, right?
Yeah, I often wish I could just do 8 shows a week. That would be relaxing.
Yeah. How familiar were you with the play prior to being offered the role?
Shamefully, I had not read the play. I was familiar with it as sort of an epic play and as a prolific event, but I had not actually read it, and I certainly hadn't seen it. So I honestly practically said yes just hearing what it was, because it was one of those things where you're like, oh yes, this is something that I should do. And then after I read it and met with Pam, of course, it was like a definite yes. But yeah, I wasn't even as familiar with the play after reading it as I am now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what attracted you to the role, and how do you describe Heidi? Such a beautifully written role.
Yeah, it is just really beautifully written. And I like the fact that she is complex. I like to play characters that are heroic but flawed and human. And I like the fact that she is... that you sort of believe in her and you want her to succeed, but she makes bad decisions and wrong choices and is sad and then, at one point is kind of sad for a lame reason. And I that's what attracts me, and that's what attracted me to Heidi. And I enjoy playing with, how strong she can be and how weak she can be and how that changes sort of every show.
No, because she's a character with so many flaws, and I would think that would be the best kind of character to play.
Yeah, and it's also one of the things that I was really excited about was the journey through time. I've never really played a character that I guess has spanned that many years. And she goes from 17 or 16 or something to, I think it's like her late 30s, early 40s. And we're not really doing anything to play particularly like, oh, now she's 16 and now she's 40. It's very much in the text. But I did want to show an emotional journey, and I did want to show someone sort of growing up in a way. That for me was the challenge that I really haven't done before.
Yeah. And it's all in the text, isn't it? It's such a beautifully written play.
Yeah, it really is. And it's like, it's in the first scene, well, there's prologue, and then the first scene in 1965, and she's 16, 17, me and Allie on, who's wonderful, plays Susan, we kept getting notes to not be so young, not be so young. And what we kind of realized eventually was we didn't have to play young. It's all in the text. Yeah. If you just say the lines and follow the story, they come off younger. You don't actually need to play it. And it happens in every scene. The next scene is 3 years later, and the text just, she is a little bit older. You don't have to play it a little bit older necessarily. You just sort of follow it.
Yeah, she grows in the play itself.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And
you
then
you got notes early on about.
Yeah, not so early on too. A little later as well.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to be like, I'm 16, and so now I'm going to play 16. And you don't need to do that when it's good writing.
Actually, what'd you say? Good writing? Because you normally don't get that.
No.
You're like, now play 16. So
right.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm. This
is such a dialogue-heavy play. Mm. How did you learn it? Were you off book right away, or how did you learn her?
No. I'm a procrastinator. I very much identify with something that Heidi says in this. She has a 4-page monologue, and she talks about how she waits until the desperation point to complete, or rather start, her homework. And I very much identify with that. I didn't learn that 4-page monologue until like maybe a week before we went to the theater. Just because I didn't want to. I just was like, I don't, this is really scary and I don't want to learn it. And then we started doing runs in the room, and I was like, oh shit, now I have to learn it because people are watching and I can't have the pages and this is embarrassing. So I did learn it. I'm good at memorizing things. I have a good memory for lines, so it's not the end of the world for me to wait till last minute. But no, I procrastinate till the very end.
The women start filing out of the locker room, and Jeanette ties her hair in a ponytail and winks at me. See you in class, Heidi. Don't forget to take a mat this time. And I look at her pink and kind face. I'm sorry, Jeanette. I think I'm too sad to go to class. Excuse me? She smiles and grabs a mat. And suddenly I stop competing with all of them. Suddenly I'm not even racing. To tell you the truth, Jeanette, I think I better not exercise today. Is there anything I can do? She puts her arm around me. Are you not well? No, Jeanette. I'm just not happy. I'm afraid I haven't been happy for some time.
Tell me about working with director Pam McKinnon and what makes her such a great director.
She really is wonderful. She's one of those people that just says one thing, like one line, one sentence about something, and you kind of, about your character or about a scene, and you kind of go like, really? Like, is that what you think? Like, can you, like, I remember at one point Jason was like, can you do that about every line in the play? Can you just talk about every line of mine in the play? Jason Biggs, who's in Heidi. She just has this incredible ability to put things into words, which is pretty great for a director. She has a great way of explaining things and a great way of painting something for you without telling you exactly how to do it. Something that I think would be very difficult. I don't know if I could be a director because I'd find that very hard. But she's very in tune with the text. She's very, she's also kind of one of those directors, and I've experienced this with every great director knows when to say they don't know about something and knows when to say that they don't have the answer. And she does that. You know, we would ask a question in the rehearsal room, and she'd say, I don't know. You know, and we'd go back to the script and we'd look at it and we'd talk about it. Or she would ask a question and she'd be like, I don't know the answer. I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah. And to me, it's a very, very good trait to have as a director.
Yeah. Brilliant cast. I mean, you mentioned Jason Biggs, Bryce Pinkham. Talk about working with your two leading men.
I'm very, very lucky. Yeah. I knew I was lucky from the very beginning. I saw Bryce in Gentleman's Guide. I was sort of sent to go see him. Yeah. And he blew my mind. You know, I sort of, as soon as the curtain went up and as soon as he started singing, I was like, yes, we should cast him. He's perfect. And then I met him afterwards and he was so nice. And then Jason, I thought, was a spectacular choice for it. And Pam had read with him and auditioned him for it. And she was like, he did such incredible things in the room. And we all got together for a drink back in December. And it was kind of immediately just perfect. And Jason was kind of a little bit like Scoop, and Bryce was a little Peter, and it was just like the perfect kind of triangle. And they've been so professional, so nice. They're good men. They're like good, kind men, and brilliant on stage, I think.
April, I'm just a simple newspaper man.
Do you think the values of our generation have changed significantly since the 60s?
April, I think we're a generation that is still idealistic, and idealists wonder what they're going to do when they grow up. I'll be wondering till I'm 80.
I once heard the same thing about Bertrand Russell. Heidi, how do you feel about that?
I don't really know much about Bertrand Russell.
Peter, you're a doctor. You work with children. Do you see yourself as a grown-up?
Yes, I'm very old and very wise.
We were known as the baby boom generation. Do you think starting our own families now makes a difference in accepting our place as adults?
April, I have two children, Maggie and Pierre. My wife and I were into Canadians at the time. Whether they make me an official adult or not, I really don't know. But having my own family has certainly pulled me out of any me generation residue. The future is about my kids, not me.
Lucky kids. Heidi, there's a lot of talk these days about super women. Are you a superwoman?
Oh, gosh, no. You have to keep too many lists to be a superwoman.
I love lists! You should see my refrigerator.
Do you keep lists in your refrigerator?
Well, they can't say we don't have a sense of humor.
You are known to millions of fans worldwide for playing Peggy Olson on the groundbreaking television series Mad Men. Mad Men fans here tonight? I cannot believe it's ending. I cannot believe your show is ending. Just so you know, I'm going through total withdrawal. We're going to talk about your withdrawal too. How did Mad Men originally come about for you? I never heard that story. How did you get cast?
I auditioned for it. Yeah, there were two pilot scripts at that time that everyone was talking about that were really good, and Mad Men was one of them, and then this other one won't be named, but I auditioned for both of them, and the one that won't be named was like the cool one that everyone wanted to do, and I didn't get that one, and but I did get Mad Men, and that other one was canceled after a few episodes. It's just a little side note, doesn't really matter.
I love it.
But I auditioned for it. I auditioned twice, did the same 2-3 scenes both times from the pilot, pretty much did them the exact same way, I think. That was it. You know, it was just another audition. It wasn't anything special. If I hadn't gotten it, I would never remember it.
Who did you audition for? Was it the casting director or was Matthew Weiner there?
It was our casting director, and it was who cast the pilot, who's not the casting director for the show, and then Matt and Alan Taylor, director, and Scott Hornbacher, executive producer.
How did you find out you were cast?
I don't remember, honestly. All I remember was that there was a movie at the time. There was an independent film at the time that I got as well, and my agents, who are no longer my agents, wanted me to do this independent film because it had these kind of famous people in it, and I remember there was like all this like, oh my God, which one, and you can't do both and blah, blah, blah. And I said, whatever happens, I remember calling them and saying, whatever happens, don't lose Mad Men. Whatever happens, if you have to pick one, pick Mad Men. And that was sort of like news to everyone because nobody, I mean, it was on a network that nobody had ever heard of. It was pretty like, no stars. It was about advertising. It wasn't exciting necessarily. So I just remember that. I remember thinking, I don't think that we should not do that pilot.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad.
I know, me too.
You didn't take that movie and you got rid of those agents.
I did the movie too,
you
actually.
see?
Yeah, they worked it out.
Well, for me and many others, Mad Men will always be Don Draper and Peggy Olson's story with all of these other incredible and indelible characters running through your lives. At what point during the process did you realize that Peggy would become such a beloved and important character?
I don't know. I still kind of don't necessarily think of it like that. I do think of it as John's show, and then the rest of us are sort of the ensemble around him. But as far as her becoming an important part of the show, I suppose like season 4, I kind of was like, when we did the suitcase, not only when we did it, but when everyone responded so well to it, and everyone really liked that episode. That was kind of like, I felt so much pressure about that episode because it was just me and John. And I was like, oh God, like I can't mess this up. Like, what if people hate it? Like it's just me. They're gonna be so disappointed. And then people really liked it. So that was the kind of like, I was like, oh, okay, people don't get mad if it's me on the show. I'm not very bright sometimes about these things. It takes me a while. So it took me a while to realize that she was important to the show.
Did you ever think at some point that she would not have the type of journey she had or the type of big role that you had? Or were you told early on that she'd be on through the whole entire season?
Oh, no. I never knew that it was going to be a big, important part. I thought that she was going to be a secretary. I thought that, I was going to be part of the ensemble. I was going to be one of the women on the show. I didn't think that, I had no idea that she was going to have so much to do. I had no idea that she was going to sort of rise in the ranks and have this relationship with Don. And no, I did not know.
Talk about working with your creator, Matthew Weiner. What's that whole process been like?
It's funny because it's been I was just actually saying there's sort of this like myth that has been sort of put out there that he doesn't really like talk to us and doesn't like tell us about the show and doesn't like tell us what happens on the show. And it's kind of not true. We just don't tell you guys what happens on the show. But he talks to us. And I mean, I've spent hours on the phone with him, 5 a.m, with him pitching me ideas and telling me, what about this? And saying lines from scenes that are coming up that don't even involve me, like, which anyone that knows a writer knows that that's what they do. They tend to like pitch you things and see how you respond. So I mean, like, I've known the ending of Mad Men for like 3 or 4 years. But it's a very more collaborative, I guess I'm saying, than I think people think. He does actually listen to you. He does actually respond to you and takes your reaction into account when he tells you what might happen on the show. And then, changes his mind sometimes, but it has been a collaborative relationship for the last 9 years.
Yeah. And working with the incredible cast. I mean, what a great ensemble of actors on Mad Men.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's so funny. They're my friends, my family, and sometimes I don't watch the show that much, but if I do, like at a premiere or something or a screening, and I'm forced to watch it, I have trouble watching myself. I'm always like, oh God. God, Christina's so good, you know. And like I turn around, she's like sitting behind me. She's always sitting behind me, and I'm like, you're so good. You know, like it's just, you forget, like you see it when you're working with them, but then you forget how good they are because they're your friends and you know them as your friends. And they're just, I mean, Vincent Kartheiser, I am convinced, is one of the greatest actors that we have. Like he's incredible. And if you meet him, you will understand what a good actor he is, because he is nothing like Pete at all. He doesn't even look like him, talk like him, stand like him. Like he's incredible. So it's just, they're amazing. I mean, I got really lucky, for sure.
Yeah. What was the last day like? Do you remember your very last day on the set of Mad Men and what you filmed and how you felt?
Yeah. Can't tell you what we filmed.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay, because we haven't seen it yet. Okay. I didn't think about that. There's a few more to go.
Yeah. But I do remember my last day was the last day of the show, and it was sad. It was very sad. It was very teary. Yeah. It was very strange, and I remember doing my last scene, and it was just very weird. You know, you're just as you're doing, you almost have like an out of body experience, because as you're doing it, you're like, this is the last time I'm going to play this character. This is so weird. And then they say cut, and you're like, you know, that's it or whatever, and you're like, that was it. That's it. That's she's dead. She has died. And it's a very strange feeling. It's just weird. It was sad, but it was also it felt like a proper goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the beginning for a second. Where did your love for performing begin growing up, and what were your early creative outlets?
I don't remember really not wanting to do this. I was a dancer as well for many years. I did ballet. My whole family was artists, so for my family, being anything else but in the performing arts in some way would have been weird. And mine was ballet, and then became acting, and then was acting and ballet, and then was just acting. I loved musicals, movie musicals. I loved Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly and all those, Singing in the Rain and My Fair Lady and West Side Story I loved. So all of those movies I would watch on VHS, and those were like, for me, that was just singing and dancing and acting. Oh my, it was like the greatest thing anyone could do. I don't remember not wanting to do it. So I'm very glad it's worked out, because otherwise I would be in Schitt's Creek, because I don't know how to do anything else.
I'd like to chat about some of your other memorable stage roles. You got to play Martha in the Lillian Hellman classic The Children's Hour, opposite Keira Knightley in London's West End, directed by Ian Rexon. What are your fondest memories of that experience?
Working with Ian was incredible. He's an amazing director. He did, most notably here in the States, Jerusalem, which I don't know if anyone got a chance to see, but with Mark Rylance was incredible. And he's a wonderful, wonderful man. One of my favorite directors I've ever worked with in any medium. And he had 4 women to contend with, 4 very different women with very different ways of working. It was me, Keira, Carol Kane, and Ellen Burstyn. And so it was 4 unique women. And he handled us all beautifully and worked individually with us, and he was wonderful, and so funny and sweet. So that was my sort of favorite part of doing that, was getting to work with him. And then we had like a million girls, and they were all like really fun and cute, and Keira and Carol were amazing, and Ellen, and it was really cool.
Was it cool doing a play in London?
Yeah, I liked it. It was different, It was different being... theater is difficult, It's hard to do that many shows a week. And that many shows a week when you're out of your home country got a little tough at the end. But it was less different as like people say, like, oh, theater in the West End is different because, it's like a stuffier audience. I didn't find that at all, actually. I found that they were a very warm audience. I don't know if it's changed or something over the years, but I found our audiences there were fantastic, and I didn't feel like they were that different than New York. Yeah. But, just being away from home for that long was hard.
But this was a goal you set for yourself, wasn't it? Because you had gone to see, what was the play you saw and you saved the ticket
Twelfth
stub?
Night.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the RSC?
Yeah.
And you framed it?
Yeah. I framed it, and I put it in my dressing room. I went to go see it, in London, and it was just blew my mind. It was such an incredible production. And I went to go see it by myself, bought a ticket, and just went by myself. And I was like, oh, I want to do a play on the West End. This is real theater, you know, British people. And I saved that stub and I framed it and I put it in my dressing room when I did the children's hour.
That's great.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
cool.
that. Okay, in Speed the Plow, you were brilliant as
Thank you.
Karen. People see Speed the Plow? First opposite Raoul Esparza and Jeremy Piven, and then you worked with Norbert, Leo Butz, and William H. Macy in David Mamet's play. What are your fondest memories of that? And how did you all deal with the Jeremy Piven thing of walking out of the production? Norbert literally going in with the book?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can take this any way you want. Because I
Thank
saw
you.
all of them. I saw you with Raoul and with Jeremy. Then I went back. I saw Norbert and I saw William. So I've seen all of them.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was there's definitely a positive and a negative to it, you know. The negative was it was very difficult to be left by when there's 3 actors in a play to be left by one of them. You know, he just didn't show up on a Tuesday. Kind of thing. And our understudy went on for a week. His understudy went on for a week. So that was hard. We almost closed. It was difficult to, Norbert came in, thank God, and was amazing. Yeah. Jeremy was fantastic in the play, by the way. I mean, he was wonderful. Yeah. Just didn't want to do it. But then Norbert came in and was amazing, and was on book, and there was something exciting about that. You know, we were all of a sudden rehearsing during the day, and it was very like, you know, there's no business like show business, you know, and it was just kind of very exciting and hard and Norbert would go on and went on with the book, and it was really, you know, cool, and the audience loved it, of course, and then we got, Bill Macy to come, and so for me the positive was I got to work with not just 2 great actors, but I got to work with all of these great actors. Yeah. I got to have many different kinds. I did many different versions of the play in a way, you know, and because there's not that many female Mamet characters, it was, you know, nice to have that. My favorite part of doing that has to absolutely be Raoul Esparza, who I think is one of the single greatest, not only actors, but human beings on the planet. He's just a lovely, lovely man, and we had so much fun. And I learned so much about what you can do on stage from him, and he just was so vicious and fabulous and terrifying and amazing, and we had to really stick together because it was just the 2 of us and the crew and stuff, you know. So we really kind of went through the trenches together, and he never was anything but incredibly professional and kind. And I loved working with him. Oh, I hope I get to do it again. He's wonderful.
You learn so many life lessons from going through something like that so quickly, right?
Yeah, you really do. I mean, I thought, oh, well, at least that's probably not going to happen again, you know? Like, like doing a regular Broadway show should be easy. Yeah. If everyone just stays, I'll think that it's a piece of cake.
Totally. But you were so wonderful in that. It's such a great part for you, and it was so beautifully directed. Yeah. And it must have been great to say David Mamet's words.
Yes, it was. I mean, I'm such a huge Mamet fan. I really wish I was a man at times because, well, many reasons, but because there's so many great Mamet roles for men. You know, it's just and I love his work, and sort of, you know, it makes my skin crawl, and it's awful, and I love it, and I just think, you know, he's brilliant. But there aren't that many parts for girls, so I'm hoping to do Oleana at some point.
Great,
because that's like the only other one, really.
Another great role.
Yeah, another great role.
You are known to legions of fans for playing Zoe Bartlett, daughter of Martin Sheen's president and Stockard Channing's first lady on Aaron Sorkin's TV drama The West Wing for 7 seasons. We had Stockard Channing here last week, and she said she adored everything about the process of working on West Wing and working with Aaron. What was it like for you?
It was... I was 17 when I started that.
Wow.
And did my last episode when I was 23, right before I did the pilot for Mad Men. So that's kind of this other chapter of my life. It was different from Mad Men in the sense that I was a reoccurring, so I wasn't around as much, you know. I was mainly on during the Aaron Sorkin years. And it was, I was 17, and all of a sudden I was working with these people, these incredible people, like Allison Janney and Bradley Whitford and Josh Spencer and John Spencer and Richard Schiff and Martin Sheen and Stockard Channing. I was like, I mean, what? Like, these people are amazing. And so I hope that some of it just rubbed off on me, honestly. Like, I hope that I learned something from working with them. I certainly learned about, being a really professional, nice person from Martin Sheen, who is the nicest person in the world. Like, just so, so sweet. Like, knows the name of the guy who opens the door, knows the name of, like, every crew member. Like, he's just an angel. So I learned that specifically from him. But, I mean, I got to not only work with these actors, but say Aaron Sorkin's words, which is, like, amazing, I mean, it's just such a gift.
Did you know you'd have the kind of run you had? Did she start out as 3 episodes or something?
It was always episode by episode.
Wow.
I think pretty much, yeah. It was supposed to just be, I think, a couple, and I certainly did not know that it was going to go in any of the direction that it went at all. Mm-mm.
If you could sum up the best part of the experience of working on the Heidi Chronicles, what has it been for you?
I think at this point, watching the other actors find new things has been really interesting, and it makes me I get so proud when they do, when I see Jason do something new that he's never done before. After so many performances, I have to stop myself if I'm not supposed to smile. At the moment, I had to stop myself from smiling because I just want to be like, good job. So that to me is seeing these people still working on it, still finding things, still trying, not giving up. That is inspiring to me to keep finding things, and it's very sweet to see.
Yeah. My final question is, what is the best bit of advice that you've been given, both personally and professionally, that you live by?
God. I suppose, this is going to sound so sort of cheesy, but having fun with things. It's so cheesy and so, I don't know, I feel like it's such a cliche, but it's so easy to forget, It's just the first thing that flies out the window when you're tired and when you don't want to do it anymore. And then you can let your life pass you by and you didn't enjoy it. You have to constantly I know that I have to constantly remind myself to have fun and enjoy it.
Thank you for doing this with us. If you haven't seen the Heidi Chronicles, please go to the Music Box Theater. Ladies and gentlemen, Elisabth Moss.
Thank you.